ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Star Wars for 100 Days, the ultimate fan countdown leading up to the release of Star Wars The Force Awakens. We are only 11 days away from the release of the 7th chapter in the greatest sci-fi saga of all time. And to celebrate, I would like to discuss and review Season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels is exactly what I want from a Star Wars TV show. It's not about the origins of the Jedi or the Sith, it's about a ragtag group of heroes in space fighting against the evil Empire, just like the original Star Wars films. This is technically a sequel series to Star Wars The Clone Wars, although it does have a slightly different production and design. In fact, I'd say my favorite thing about the show is probably the design in general. It's based on the concept art of original Star Wars artist Ralph McQuarrie, and if you're familiar with his artwork, you'll definitely be able to see the influence all over the show. Star Wars Rebels is set in between Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith and Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope. In fact, it takes place 14 years after the end of Revenge of the Sith. That's when the Galactic Empire was formed and the Jedi were seemingly wiped out. Basically, this takes place at a time when the Empire had its strongest grip around the galaxy, but it was also at this point that the rebellion finally started to arise. Star Wars Rebels is not so much about the team that actually formed the rebellion, but about a small cell that actually exists within it. And it just happens to have a group of very cool characters who are attached to this spaceship called the Ghost. Let's go ahead and talk about our 6 main characters. First, there is Ezra Bridger. Voiced by Taylor Gray, Ezra Bridger is the would-be hero of the series, the young Jedi apprentice to Kanan Jarrus. At the beginning of the series, he is parentless, living on the planet of Lothal, and trying to escape the evil clutches of the Empire. Due to some weird, crazy events involving said Empire, he ends up getting caught in the middle of a war and ends up having to join the Ghost crew. This is also where he meets Kanan Jarrus, who is this Jedi who decides to start training him. And speaking of Kanan Jarrus, probably one of my favorite characters from the show. He's voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr. of all people, and what's really cool about his story is that apparently he is a Jedi who survived Order 66. He was just a young Padawan during the time. His master was killed during Order 66, and he managed to make a quick escape. The rest of the series follows Kanan Jarrus as he does everything in his power to teach Ezra Bridger the ways of the Force. The thing is, he technically never really completed all of his training, so in many ways, he's a Padawan teaching another Padawan who's always learning new things himself, and he definitely second-guesses himself about how he's going to teach Ezra, and that leads to a lot of drama in the series. But still, he's a pretty awesome character. Basically, he's kind of like a cowboy Jedi, which I think is a perfect fit because the original Star Wars films, to me, were always kind of like this mixture of sci-fi, fantasy, and westerns. The owner of the Ghost ship and resident pilot is Hera Syndulla, who is basically the mother of the group. She's basically who keeps everyone together and keeps them from killing each other. Voiced by Vanessa Marshall, she's definitely the heart of the entire crew, and a character who really grew on me as the series was going on. Also, I'm not quite sure, but she might even be the possible love interest of Kanan Jarrus. I'm not sure if that's where they're going with it, or if they see each other as more of a brother and sister relationship. But Hera Syndulla actually happens to be the daughter of Cham Syndulla from Star Wars The Clone Wars. The resident weapons expert of the Ghost crew is Sabine Wren, who is this Mandalorian girl who is just freaking awesome. You can't just not love this character. Her design is so incredible, how she's a Mandalorian covered with graffiti paint. In fact, that's one of the biggest things about her character. She's a starving artist. In fact, you can see her artwork all over the Ghost ship. Voiced competently by Taya Sakar, she is definitely one of the most badass chicks I've seen from the Star Wars universe. And of course, there is Garazeb Aurelios, otherwise known as Zeb. He's basically the muscle of the team, and basically sort of acts as like the Chewbacca of the crew, except that unlike Chewbacca, he has a voice, and he uses it often, and a lot of the times it's just him being really cantankerous. But I love this character. He's voiced by Stephen Bloom, who is a very famous voice actor who voices a number of other characters in the show. You're going to hear him pop up as a lot of different stormtroopers. But Zeb is a character that I can really get behind because he seems like he could just be straight up the comedy relief of the show, but he has this air of badassery about him that I really like. I also really love the fact that he's actually based on the original artwork artwork for Chewbacca that was done by Ralph McQuarrie, so he is sort of fulfilling that role in a sense, but it's always fun to see him butting heads with Ezra Bridger. They have a lot of great interactions with each other, and he also happens to be pretty awesome himself, and just like the other members of the crew, every single one has something out for the Empire. They're trying to work together so that they can make life for the Empire really freaking crappy, and a lot of them have their own various reasons behind it, and I would say that Zeb's is probably one of the most hardcore, and that's because most of his species was just completely wiped out by the Empire, and he was one of the few survivors, which makes his species near extinct, so that's gonna make him one of those weird, rare aliens. And how could I forget the resident astromech droid of the Ghost crew? C-110P, otherwise known as Chopper. Chopper is this short-tempered, pissed-off little droid who does things his way. He hurts the crew just as much as he helps them, and is basically the biggest comedy relief from the show. The show has heroes, but it's also got to have villains, and this one certainly has it in spades. Since this is set in between episode 3 and 4, that means we have the Empire, which means stormtroopers, TIE fighters, walkers, and all types of cool stuff. I'd say the biggest villain from the first season, without a doubt, is the Grand Inquisitor. The Inquisitor is this dark Jedi which has been trained by Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine, who are these special agents who go around looking for rogue Jedi and finishing them off, also performing missions which are very dangerous. The one that we see in the very first season is voiced by Jason Isaacs, who's most popular for being Draco Malfoy's father, Lucius Malfoy. That's right. And he is the perfect choice for this role because he just brings so much charismatic evil to this character who already looks pretty freaking awesome to begin with. The coolest thing about the character, without a doubt, is his lightsaber, which has this circular guard around it, which also has a double blade, which can spin around, which makes it really dangerous. They're not Sith per se, they're basically just really badass dark Jedi characters. There's only one Inquisitor in this season, but if you stay around for the second season, you're going to see a few more of them pop up. And you want to make sure to stay tuned through the entire season because at the very end, you'll also get to see the return of Darth Vader, still voiced by James Earl Jones. And spoiler alert, at the very end of the season, you also get to see the return of Anakin Skywalker's apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, making this the perfect sequel series to Star Wars The Clone Wars. But the first season of Rebels really is all about introducing the crew, showing us what they're about, what their backstories are, why they want to fight the Empire, and the beginnings of one part of the Rebel Alliance. The best thing about Star Wars Rebels is that it feels like Star Wars. If it's not the John Williams music, it's just the design of the characters and the look of everything. It's way different feeling than Star Wars Clone Wars. It definitely is closer to the feel of the original films, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Ghost Crew themselves is very similar to Han Solo, Chewbacca, Luke, and Leia when they're all hanging out in the Millennium Falcon. And the Empire themselves are just the perfect villains for the show. There's no way that battle droids can ever replace the ridiculousness of stormtroopers, and despite the fact that this is a Disney-produced program, it still has some elements which are very dark. The concept of death is very much alive in the series, and there are some very intense moments. That being said, it is definitely geared towards a younger audience, but this is something that even older Star Wars fans can appreciate, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this, but I actually liked Star Wars Rebels a lot more than Star Wars Clone Wars. I think Star Wars The Clone Wars has some great things going for it. It's definitely got better animation and fight scenes, but this first season right here is basically like a test bed. They're testing the waters for the show to see how people are going to react to it, and honestly, I think they're doing a fantastic job with the property, and I love these characters so much now that I would love to see them appear in either the future Star Wars films or maybe even the anthology films. They could do an entire anthology movie all about the Ghost Crew, and I think it honestly would be really exciting as long as there's a great story to go along with that. Star Wars Rebels is the perfect mixture of old and new. It's also got some really great Jedi action from Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger. I particularly love the design of Ezra Bridger's lightsaber, which you don't get to see until a little bit more towards the end of the first season, but it's a cool combination of a blaster and a lightsaber in one. So he can actually, like, shoot from this thing, which is fantastic. There's lots of great lightsaber battles, cool aliens, stormtroopers, amazing space battles, and lots of callbacks to the entire Star Wars series. It is a little cheesy sometimes when they have just like some dialogue that they rip straight from the old movies, because it's just like, oh, we get it, they said that in the old movies. But honestly, it really brings a smile to my face. This whole series is something that any Star Wars fan should definitely check out, especially if you're a fan of the original films. I love Star Wars Rebels. The second season is even better, and it's definitely worth checking out. It just gets better with all the brand new characters, and of course the return of Darth Vader as the main villain, some brand new Inquisitors, and even some returning characters from Star Wars The Clone Wars, like some very specific clones. So, I'm not going to talk any more about Season 2, I just wanted to highlight Season 1. It's a great introduction to the characters. I highly recommend the series. Check it out. But before you guys leave, make sure to tell me what you think about Star Wars Rebels in the comment section below. What do you think about the very first season of the show? Do you have a favorite character of the Ghost Crew? Do you have a favorite scene from that season? Are you enjoying the second season? And what do you want to see from the rest of Star Wars Rebels and any more of the brand new spin-off shows, which I'm sure are going to come out in the future? And make sure to tell me what you want to see from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.